All right, y'all. So we are continuing our process of putting the last finishing touches on our podcast assignment, and next up is adding end credits to your podcast. This is a very, very, very important step, especially if you are incorporating the work of somebody else into your own, i.e., the music that you have chosen. So at the end, it's a very, very simple process of doing this. Now, first things first, you want to make sure that you have things set up so that you're only working with the one track where you want that dialogue to appear. So in this case, obviously, it's going to go on the host track. So what we want to do is, first things first, we want to go ahead and for the music file here, we want to press M for mute. That way we're not going to hear this at all when we press record. If this is not muted and you press record, then it will record your dialogue, but you're also going to hear this at the same time, and it may be harder to focus on your speaking. All right, so first things first, make sure that that is muted, so we're good to go. It's kind of taken out of the equation. Next up, for the dialogue track. So we've got that highlighted now. Want to go ahead and press R. We have our input device selected here, so we're good to go as far as that is concerned. Our volume is good as it has been from the get-go. And so now all we want to do is we want to add in a couple of quick words. We want to mention who the podcast was written and produced by, and we want to mention the music that we used, if any. So we're going to go ahead and do that real fast. This podcast was written and produced by David Williams. The music is Iris by DSum. All right. And like everything else that we've worked with up to this point, you can do a little bit of editing on that. Do a little bit of trimming. There we go. All right. Let's go ahead and listen to that. This podcast was written and produced by David Williams. The music is Iris by DSum. Okay, all right, so sounds good. And look, if your dialogue here sounds a little bit different than what you recorded originally, that is okay, y'all. It's just one more cue for the audience that they have arrived at the end of the journey, all right? Now, a word on the credits. You don't necessarily have to do them this way if you don't want to. If you want, you can write your credits into the script that you compose for your podcast. For me, I've never preferred doing it that way, only because with the credits, there's no telling what could change in the course of doing my podcast. Maybe I've brought somebody else in to help me out with the editing, and I need to make sure that I'm crediting them. Or if I get to the end of the project and decide that the music that I originally wanted to go with, it's really not doing the trick for me. It's not giving me what I'm looking for, and I decide to go with something else. Well, then I would have to delete what I've already recorded and just go ahead and re-record anyway. This just kind of saves me that step, all right? And I'm going to go ahead and click off of the R there. Now, as far as this little bit of dialogue is concerned, you can do all the same editing things that you did with your previous dialogue, even though you're only speaking for a couple of seconds. If you got any sort of audible blemishes, be sure to go ahead and clean that up. If you've got some background noise, go ahead and try to get that out of there as well. But the main thing here is this, because this is a separate file on your track than this one is, you got to make sure that you tag this this bit of dialogue just like you did for this right here. All right, so we want to make sure that we give the dialogue tag to this one as well, and that way you can see here Adobe Audition has gone ahead and they have calculated the ducking for this bit of audio as well. So let's go ahead and I'll tell you what, I'm going to move this in a little bit. That way we just got a couple of seconds of music playing before we get to our credits. Let's hear what this sounds like. All right. This podcast was written and produced by David Williams. The music is Iris by DSum. Okay, so not bad. All right, So we come to the end of the dialogue here. The music rises again, stays at full volume for a couple of seconds, dips back down for the credits, rises again, and then, of course, we're going to have our fade out set up there. And you should be good to go. Remember, y'all, that giving credit when you're using another artist's work in your own, that is an important academic, legal, and ethical responsibility that you have. So please make sure that you are doing that anytime that you are putting together a podcast project.